So we're going to start recording and introduce our first speaker officially, and that is Arné Burns, MPH, health educator from the Illinois Public Health Association. And I'll turn it over.
Hi, thanks, Dr. Klein. I hope everybody's having a good afternoon. I don't know about everyone else, but the weather near me was really nice yesterday, and now it's kind of a little dreary outside, but that's okay. Like Dr. Klein said, I have been at SIUE a very long time. I did get my bachelor's in public health, not by like normal route by any means. I was originally a biology major. I don't know if anyone else has kind of been in the same boat with regards to figuring out what they wanted to do long-term for college, but I was in biology and it was that one class, just could not pass it. And so I was like, maybe I need to find something else to do. And somebody had recommended me the program back when I believe it was health education. And then it got transferred into public health when we got accredited. So it's been really fun. I have had, let's see, goodness, this is my third job within public health right now. So my first job, I did nutrition education. I was working for University of Illinois Extension as a community worker for SNAP Ed, which I don't know if you all are familiar with SNAP, that's Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program. So my priority area at the time was East St. Louis. So I would go into the East St. Louis schools, some of the local food pantries between like where East St. Louis meets with like Fairview Heights. And I would offer, what was the program called? It was called Organ Wise, guys. So, we talk to the kids about your organs like when you eat healthy foods and things like that. With the adults, it was more so how to make certain healthier recipes, especially if we were in food pantries. I would take some of the things that the pantries are having difficulty moving, and I would use that as like a tasting, and I would make that recipe and then be like, this is what you can make with this. And so that's kind of what I did. I worked there for about, I want to say about 2 years. So that was a fun job. And then I transitioned into more of the clinical side. So I ended up working for the We Care Clinic, which is located on the East St. Louis campus of SIUE. I was there for, I think, a little over a year, and I was kind of the health education coordinator with regards to asthma, which is completely left field from nutrition. Like it was a whole new subset that I had to learn. One of the beautiful things, though, about public health is that you get an opportunity to learn so many different things and that you can apply to other career fields. So I was in charge of the asthma home visiting program. So at the time, kind of when COVID had started, everything was virtual. So I did virtual home assessments. So I would, let's say that there was someone that came into the clinic that got diagnosed with asthma or was a patient and was interested in the program. I would do like an assessment, asking them like kind of they would have to take an asthma control test, which are called like ACTs, trying to figure out and get what their asthma control range was. And then the next visit, it would be like a virtual home visit. So I would instruct them like, you should consider using green clean supplies or how to properly dust, things along that nature. And then with the grant that I was working on, I was able to provide them with those things. So if they were enrolled, they did not have to pay for those green clean supplies, air filters. I gave away a few high efficiency vacuum cleaners, air sanitizers, dehumidifiers, oh goodness, bug traps, all of those things. It was free of charge. I had to check in with them. I believe we were on a quarterly basis. So every 3 months I would check in. So I did that for a little while. And then I actually just started my job with IPHA last April, so almost a year. It's exciting. And also completely different field. So now my job is more so training related. So as a health educator here, I help to develop any of the trainings that we are offering for like any of the various grants that we're working on. So one of the biggest grants that it's been basically my whole life since like September, is called, we call it IVAX, but it's essentially a really big COVID grant where we're trying to train community health workers so they can educate the public about vaccines and things of that nature with regards to whatever the parameters are outlined in the grant. So I want to say we just finished our, let's see, September, October, November, December, our 5th cohort. So I think that rounds us up to maybe 360 people that we've trained total since September. It has been, whew, it's a lot. You know, you never really think about how intense training is, but the developing of the training, writing the training questions, editing like the PowerPoint slides that are used for the training, helping people if they need assistance with the training and like our online platform, all of that is pretty much encompassed in the job that I do now. So also completely different than anything that I've done, but still really fun. I do enjoy what I do. I like that based on whichever grant I get assigned to, I could be working on something completely different. Sometimes I'll also host lunch and learns, which are essentially, we'll have like guest speakers that come in to talk about different types of public health topics. I think last week we had someone talk to us about the latest research with regards to Alzheimer's, because we do have an Alzheimer's grant. And then also last week, we had someone talk about home visiting assessments specific to the work that community health workers do. So really fun stuff. I've been doing, I dabble in a lot since I've graduated, and I do enjoy it. Let's see. I really think I guess that's it, like work-wise, what I've been doing. I know I didn't want to talk too long because I didn't know if people had questions or maybe a little bit more about like school-wise what I did, if anybody had questions with regards to that, but I am open. I love questions. So if anybody has any, please feel free. I'm more than willing to answer.
I can start. I just wanted to know, when you changed from biology, how did you feel, and do you feel like you made the correct decision?
Oh man, you know, it's one of those things. I don't know if you guys have experienced this. I really hope no one.
Yeah, we did. A lot of us were pre-nursing, pre-bio, so a lot of us did like kind of come from the same background you did.
Yeah, so my experience was interesting. You know how sometimes the teachers don't update your grades just in time for graduation. So, you know, I had walked across the stage. I was like, I am done. Yeah, no. And that is probably it was like a sinking heart feeling. I was just like, oh my gosh, I didn't pass. What am I gonna do? Tried to retake the class again, that didn't work. So it was one of those things where I was just going through the motions, but I knew that I was not enjoying what I was doing at all. Yeah, it's just,
Same.
It was tough. I think it's one of those things where, you know, when you're asking a child, because at the end of the day, when I started college, I was 17. I didn't turn 18 until I was in. When you're asking a child to make like life decisions, you know, like how 18 is considered an adult, but let's be sure, I was a child. When you're asking a child to make a life decision like that, it took me a long time to really figure out what it is that I wanted to do. So I don't regret that it took me a long time. I'm very happy where I'm at right now. I have some friends that just they're not as fulfilled with their career choices anymore. And, you know, even though it took me way left field, I'm happy it took me the direction that it did. So if you're not feeling like, you know, this is for you, by all means, it's never too late to start over.
Oh no, I won't be starting over. My mom don't play that, but I'll be just getting another degree like master's or something. But I still want to do public health, but like public health nursing. I just wasn't ready for it when I got to school. But I love public health. I love the community. I want to give back to the community in that realm though. So like whatever I can do to help that spectrum. So it's eye-opening to see like the issues and things you guys tackle. So it's opening my mind.
No, that's excellent. And I had a ton of people that I graduated with that ended up doing the public health route and then did an accelerated nursing program and ended up being much more beneficial for them because it was, you got all of your gen eds and all of that out of the way so you could really focus on what it is that you wanted to do. So no, that's completely fine. I think that's great, honestly. That's good. Is it Kobe? Oh, Kobe. Hey.
Hi, yeah. I was actually just telling Dr. Klein the other day that I was attending the CHW training and that you were on there, so I thought that was pretty coincidental. But I pretty much just had a question as far as you pursuing to get your master's, because a lot of us are considering actually taking that next step and getting our master's. So did you have an idea, like once you graduated with your bachelor's, of what you wanted to do, and that's why you got your master's degree, or did you just kind of want to continue your education? Like, what was the thought process behind that?
Gotcha. So I knew that at some point I would want to teach. So it's a lot easier. I'm sure you could get like a teaching job with your bachelor's degree, but I know it would be a lot easier if I had my master's. And my mindset at the time, I was just like, maybe I'll even get my PhD. But I'm gonna be honest with y'all. I think I've put in my time with regards to school. I think, I don't know yet. Anything could change, but I know I wanted to teach college level. So that's what kind of propelled me to get my master's. And I was in the part-time program. So I did mine in 3 years. Talk to us in 5 years. Yeah, we'll see. I did mine in 3 years, and that was because I was working full-time, but the job that I had paid for my tuition. So the requirement was I could do no more than 6 credit hours. So I couldn't take like the full-time route to be finished in 2 years. So I felt that kind of delayed me a little bit, but also it worked out in my benefit because that capstone, when it's all said and done, that is an intense project, but it really is like once you kind of delve into research like that, you really do have a much greater appreciation for people who do research like consistently, like that actually enjoy it, because it really is eye-opening. And a lot of the things that got revealed during my research project, some things hopefully are being implemented at the clinic, but I'm not sure. But yeah, that was kind of my driving force to getting my master's. So, and I like it so far. It's been good. It's I'm hoping, and I'm not gonna lie to anyone and say that, it comes with like better pay. I'm not there yet. When I get there, I'll let you know. But it is nice to have, and it's very flexible. You can really apply your MPH to really anything. So yeah, thanks. Any other questions?
So I know you said that you were doing the SNAP benefits and stuff for the college kids. So how is that job? Because I know like you were coming from out of college and you changed your spectrum from being a student receiving like the bad news on the bad news end. So like, did you ever have to like, like that's a big thing. So college kids losing SNAP benefits middle of the semester, not knowing, like, was that hard for you to like, or did it make you want to advocate for them? Or how was it just changing like the roles and being more so on like, the other side of things?
Gotcha. So our job was, we worked in communities that had a high SNAP eligibility rate. So I did not specifically work with people to sign them up or register them for SNAP benefits. We had pamphlets that we would pass out sometimes, but with literacy levels, sometimes that's just not really the best way to kind of hand out information to people. So a lot of the times we would have to work with those food pantries. Maybe they would bring in somebody from like a WIC office or the SNAP office to offer some assistance, and we would kind of like tag team. Like I'll provide them information about nutrition, but also if you need assistance getting those nutrition benefits, here's someone that you can connect with as well. A lot of the job was a lot of layering with regards to the amount of information that they're getting from all types of all realms. So if I'm talking to the kids, my hope is that the kids are then sharing that information with their parents, like, hey, I want to eat healthy because my heart needs it. But also with the adults, if we're going into any of those facilities that they're located, they're getting that information as well. Very much a tag team effort. I was on SNAP when I was in college. I would say back then it was a little bit easier, especially now with what's going on. And I think it was announced that like the public health emergency benefits are going to be ending. I think it's in May. And even with friends currently that are on SNAP, a lot of them still are not getting kind of like what's needed to sustain really kind of what they're going through. So there's a lot of different policies and things that kind of go into that as well. So I hope that answered your question.
I love that concept, Arne, of like the kids, because so I'm a parent, and I think we don't have a lot of parents in our group right now. If you're a parent, raise your hand. I don't think we have a whole lot of parents, but when you don't have a lot of money for food, it's super important that you are like your kids are willing to try healthier foods, because you don't want to, there's nothing more frustrating than like throwing out broccoli because your kid won't eat it or whatever, So I think that's a really neat way to do that, like that, kind of educate the kids, maybe help develop their sort of tastes and interests in healthier food, because you don't have a lot of money to experiment, so yeah, that's cool. Great story.
Yeah, no, it's really, I think one of the schools that we had worked with, one of our smaller schools, we went in and did taste testing. I think this time it was maybe pomegranate, and the kids would stick like a popsicle in the smiley face if they liked it, or the upside down face if they didn't. And if it got enough likes, we worked pretty closely with the school lunch programmer. So if the kids liked it, she would then add it to the menu. Now that was done on it was a very small school. I'm talking like pre-K through 8th grade was all in the same school. So on a smaller scale, probably a lot more easier and feasible to do. Don't know what that would look like applied to like a bigger district, kind of like East St. Louis, maybe a little bit more, especially with East St. Louis having like 4 elementary schools, so it's a bigger area. So, but it did help. And at least we know that they're getting those healthier food options, at least in the school where they're spending sometimes the majority of their time. So no, it was good. I liked it. It was fun. Any other questions? Okay. I didn't see anything else. So
other questions, like this can be a chatty group. So it's been a hard day today, they told me. So yeah. I will ask questions that I tend to hear them asking. And I think that they might be interested. So, gosh, there's like several questions I could think of asking you. I think just to kind of highlight what Arne has already said, she's a great example of somebody who did do a master's program that was paid for by her work, and she did it part-time. So I don't think there's a whole lot of MPH students that went part-time. Is there like only one other, Arne?
So I started with the very first cohort. So the very first cohort, none of them were part-time. So everyone graduated and I was like, all right, I'll join the second group. Now the second group, I think, had a little bit more part-time people. But yeah, so it was just me.
So, keep that in mind for graduate study, just because if Arne had worked full-time and taken full-time classes, that's a lot. Like it is designed so like theoretically you could do it, but it can be very challenging, sort of depending on how much flexibility and study time you might have at your full-time job. So I think that's kind of like, so, MPH questions, she's a great person to ask about that because she's been through the whole program, the SIUE program. But also I kind of wanted to see what are you seeing, like trends or fields or things in particular that you're seeing that are in high demand for like entry level people going into public health? Like, are there fields or certain trainings or certain areas that you think, oh, these are going to be where they're going to need people over the next several years to decade?
I don't know if there's anything. I'll say I'm not the best person with like following up with regards to like things that are trending within public health. I probably should utilize my LinkedIn a lot more when it's all said and done. But I can say just from jobs that I see posted on like the IPHA website. So if you guys are members, I believe you have access to like job postings that are there. I'm seeing a lot of things with regards to like public health surveillance, specifically centered around like HIV, Hep B, STIs, and things of that nature. And I'm talking, it's basically spread out through the entire state. I'm also seeing quite a lot of things just with regards to health education as a whole. So I'm wondering if maybe there's just a need specifically, and these are state jobs. So this is not, I'm not sure kind of what's going on nationally, but in the state as a whole, I'm seeing a lot more uptick with regards to jobs of that nature. Don't know if that's super helpful or not, but that is what I'm seeing. Oh, there's questions in the chat. Let me see. When you graduated with your public health degree, did you go straight into your Accelerate program? No, I did not. Let me tell you something. There's no shame if you go immediately in, but at the time I had been in school for, gosh, like 10 years. And I said, I need a break. And I took a break. It was a year, but I was just like, gosh, is this what people do? They just go to work and then go home. It was great. It was a great year break. If anybody has the ability to do so, highly recommend. And then it kind of helped kind of get my bearings with a new job before going back into school as well. But I know sometimes it's just easier just to get it all done in one fell swoop, and I respect that as well. So everyone is different with regards to that. Where are you located? Was it the St. Louis area? Yes, I'm actually in Glen Carbon. Even though my job is based in Springfield, I do work remotely, or I guess more so hybrid. I only go up to the main office maybe every 3 months or so. I think the next time I'm going up there is next month. And the last time I was there was December. So really great. Love working remotely. I don't know if I'll ever go back. I say that now, but it's just so nice.
Well, the reason I asked that was, sorry. The reason I asked that was because I wanted to know where you're getting your master's from, like what's the school name?
Oh, so I got my master's degree from SIUE. So from their MPH program.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no, I got it from there. I know sometimes they'll say, or I've heard other teachers say, like, especially back in my biology program, you don't want to do your master's at the same place you did your undergrad, venture out. And, I feel like the issue or the problem with that is sometimes we don't take into account people's situations. At the end of the day, I feel like I received just as good of a training as if I was to go anywhere else. And I did it. So, don't let that be a deterrent if you're going to the same school, getting your master's degree that you did your undergrad. I honestly do not think anybody is paying that close attention when it's all said and done. Are all positions hybrid or just specifically yours? So with my current job, very interesting situation. When I interviewed, I was told it was going to be remote. And then I was told, oh, by the way, you got to come in for the first 90 days. And, Springfield is like an hour 15 from here. I was like, every day. But it essentially ended up to where I was the first like fully remote position. And since then we have hired, was it 1, 2, 3, 4, I think 4 or 5 other people, and they're also now fully remote. So I was the starting point. So that's nice. And I do my job. So they can't say that it's not, people aren't doing work at home. I do what I need to do. So that's good at least. Alexis, I saw your hand was up. I'm sorry.
I was just gonna ask, like, this might be off topic, but like, how do you think that like your job would do with like a second job? Because we kind of know like in our like economy today, it's kind of really hard to just have like one job. And like the job that I have right now, I really like and I want to keep. But like if I get like a job with my internship, do you think they'd still let me have my second job?
Gotcha. So I'm in I guess a different position. So I do have a part-time job, mostly because I started this part-time job like back in 2015. I work at the youth center. I'm on Scott Air Force Base. I don't know if anybody was military in the group, but essentially I work with the teens and anything youth development related. So when I first left for my full-time position, they allowed me to only come in like Friday nights. So I work Friday nights, maybe 1 to 2 times a month. Now, that's not to say that all jobs have that same availability. I was given that extension because I'd been there for that long. But most jobs, if you're holding a second job, they just have you sign a waiver like I did with this current job, essentially saying that that part-time job will not interfere with any of like my main job responsibilities. And it does not, I mean, I'm working Friday nights from like 6 to 10. That's like way off of any work hours that I would ever do normally. Especially with like the cost of things lately, I would say talk to your job and mention that, you know, I'm probably asking them about their policies with regards to having a second job, but I don't think there's anything wrong with the understanding of making sure you know your limits with regards to working. And I know some people have like 2 full-time jobs. Personally, I can't do that. I can't do that, but
J'étais en train de dormir, je viens me réveiller par ton appel.
oh, okay. So yeah, really that's just up to the job and then up to you, what it is that you want to do.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, perfect. Is it possible to be guaranteed a job once you get your degree? Gosh, I wish. You know, the thing about it is the first job that I had with U of I, it was someone I graduated with. She had interned with them and she could not accept the position that they were marketing for because she ended up doing kind of like an accelerated teacher program through the East St. Louis School District. And she said, Arné, you should apply for this. And I had just gotten back from Uganda for my internship. And I was just like, oh gosh, I got to start applying for jobs now. So I applied and that's the job that I ended up getting. And that was only because someone told me about it. It's the same thing with my current job through IPHA. I don't know if anybody's in the Facebook group, but Dr. Klein had posted that they were looking for a health educator. And I was like, oh, let me email now. And I did, and I got it. So, you know, it's really, you know, networking is super important, being there for each other in the field. When anybody asks me about any past jobs or if I know of any jobs that are hiring, I'm more than welcome to be like, yeah, try this, or yeah, I'll talk to them and let them know. So really just kind of being there for everyone, I feel like is super important within our profession. Did you get your internship? And I'm so sorry, I know I'm over on time, I apologize. Did you get your internship with SIUE? How was interning in Uganda? Yes, so I did an international internship. I don't know if we've had the ability to go back. I was the very first group that went.
Now it's Peru. So now the summer's trip is to go to Peru.
That's exciting. You know, no, Uganda was fantastic. It's one of those things where, you know, you think I'm like culturally diverse and you know, I'll be fine. And you get there? No. So it was an adjustment period for like a good crisp 2 weeks. But after that, it was great. I still talk to some of the students that were there now. I actually had the opportunity to join them again this summer, but had to back out of that. So it's definitely something I would go through and do again. Had a really good time. And a lot of people ask me about it when I'm applying for jobs. So you really went to Uganda, like in Africa? And I'm like, yes, yes, I did. So it's always, you know, any way to make your resume like an awesome selling point, honestly. I'm an intern at IPHA right now. How often do they extend job offers to their interns, if you know? So I actually don't work with a lot of the interns at IPHA. So if we're talking about like tiering, I'm typically, well, one, I'm like all the way on the training branch, and I'm just kind of like down here. So, and I have not worked there long enough to know about extending job offers. So I would say really utilize that. If you're a member of IPHA, like an IPHA student, really utilize their, what's it called? The job searching that they have there. Or if I see that a job pops up, if it's like an entry level, you guys, please feel free to email me. I don't know if I shared my email address. Dr. Klein. I'll put it in the chat. Let's see, I'll do my work email and my personal. Either one works. I look at them pretty consistently. So if I see anything, and if you're wanting to be like, hey, if there's anything going through, can you send it to me? I have no problem forwarding you guys that information. That's not a problem at all. Just shoot me an email. I can create like a little address book and be like, oh, new job, and send it to everyone who's interested. So yeah, that's not a problem at all.
I just want to thank you for doing that because it's been hard. So thank you.
Yeah, no, it's no problem. I understand. I get it. I really do. And Ian, are you working with, I wonder if you're working with Jeffrey. Are you working with Jeffrey?
Yeah, I am.
Okay, yeah, that's my supervisor. He's great. So yeah, please send me an email, stay in contact. I have no problem doing that for you all. So I
That's
don't
generous.
anyone else's time. So I'm
That's very generous, Arné. I mean, I think one thing that is probably coming through loud and clear to all of the students as we have our alums come back and talk is just the like generosity and support that you get. There's like something magical about like our grads, and Arné is no exception, where it's just, thank you. That's really generous of you. To share your time here, and to also offer to kind of create a little bit of a mini like job alert for people. That's really cool.
yeah, no problem at all.
All right. So I hate to say it, but we are actually out of time. So can we give Arné a great round of applause for this just awesome information? And I'm probably not the only one that's like secretly wishing at some point you're going to get your PhD and come back and professor. But no pressure. I know you like what you're doing right now. Okay, so for people, I'm putting in the link right now. If you are a student in the Public Health Senior Seminar 498 students, I know we have a lot of guests here today, but if you're one of the 498 students, I've put a link in the chat that will lead you to the feedback form that you have to fill out for class. So anybody else, don't worry about that link. My students, go ahead and go to that link. Let's leave some feedback for Arné that I will send to her later. And remember, don't hit send on that yet, because we still have one more of our guest speakers coming up. So Arné, thank you so much. And yeah, we really appreciate it.
No, thank you. And you guys have a good rest of your evening. Bye.
Wonderful. Bye, Arné. Thank you. All right, I'm very excited to welcome our next guest speaker. So Lindsey Douglas is an alum of our program here at SIUE. And she has gone on to do very interesting things. So we often hear about Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. We often, CDC, we think about it, we talk about it. Some of you have talked about interning there or having jobs there. Lindsey is one of our grads who actually has done that and has taken her to various places in the United States. So I know if you're like me, every time I think about CDC, I think about Atlanta, but you forget like it covers the entirety of the US, and Lindsey has been in a couple of those places. So it's been a while since I've talked to her and can't wait to hear sort of what she's up to. So without further ado, I would like to introduce you to Lindsey Douglas and turn it over to her.
Thank you. Hi, everybody.
Yeah, as Dr. Klein mentioned, I am Lindsey Douglas, and I am an alum. I graduated in May of 2019 from the public health program. I got my bachelor's in public health there. And the knowledge and skills from the classes that I took from SIUE have been incredibly beneficial for my career. So just kind of gonna go from the start with how I got into CDC. So right when I graduated in May of 2019, I was interviewing for the Centers for Disease Control Public Health Associates Program, otherwise known as PHAP. And so PHAP is a 2-year training program. It's actually, it's built like it is like a fellowship, but it's actually a training program. You are treated as like a full-time employee with benefits and salary and everything. And it's highly competitive. With my cohort, there was 110 of us selected, and there was over 3,000 applicants. And that is about how it is every year, give or take. And they tend to hire about 100 to 125 every year. So it's very highly competitive, and you go through the entire process on USA Jobs, filling out the federal resume, which is its own beast, and kind of navigating the federal hiring landscape, which I knew nothing about. I don't know, like many of you, but I had always dreamed of working with the CDC and maybe even going to Atlanta and appreciating all of the work and all the, what CDC does. But I don't think I ever in like a million years thought that I would get a position right out of undergrad. And so with PHAP, that was kind of my way in, and I thought that I would just go ahead and apply for it. It's open to recent grads within 2 years of graduating. You can have either your bachelor's degree or a master's degree. I actually was in the program with people with doctorates, because that was the only way they could get into CDC, was through this program. And so it was really great to kind of have this cohort of people kind of from all different backgrounds and educational backgrounds. And with PHAP, when you apply for it, it gives you the option of where you want to be in terms of location. And I was just like, I'll go anywhere. And I did not ever think in my wildest dreams I would be sent to rural Montana. I was in a rural town in Montana, 16 miles south of the US-Canadian border, in Kalispell, Montana. If you're familiar with Glacier National Park, that's kind of where I was. And I was placed at a local health department. I was placed at the Flathead City County Health Department, and I was there for 2 years. So that's how long the PHAP program lasts. And when I started there, I moved in October of 2019, packed up my little car, and I drove across the country. I'd never been to Montana before. I'd never heard of the town. Didn't even meet the people I was going to work with. It was all through email. And I didn't even really know what I was going to be doing. I just knew that I was there on behalf of CDC to provide programmatic support to the health department. And so when I got there, I was originally there to help with their community health needs assessment, and also developing their community health improvement plan. And I did that probably for the first 6 or so months, and then COVID happened. And so since March of 2020, I was fully involved in COVID. I did contact tracing for this health department, emergency preparedness and planning, helped with vaccine clinics, like you name it, I did it. I didn't know what I was doing. I was just like head on, doing whatever I was told. And it was a really nerve-wracking, crazy experience. And I think many people who were working in the pandemic really didn't know what they were doing. I remember in 2020 thinking about Dr. Sheen's class for Epi, and we talked about a pandemic happening and how it was on the verge of happening, and maybe we'd see one in our lifetimes. And I remember like thinking and talking with my friends who are also in the class, like, oh, wouldn't it be kind of cool if like when we're in our public health jobs, we get we get to work in a pandemic, and how neat is this gonna be? And yeah, it wasn't as cool as I thought it would be. It started off that way, but it lost its charm much later. But with being in Montana and working in a local health department, but also being a federal employee, it was, I kind of was like a double agent in a lot of ways. I was doing work on behalf of my health department and on behalf of the state of Montana and Flathead County. But I also was pulled into federal deployment. I have been deployed for the COVID-19 response 3 times in the course of my 3.5 years with CDC. My first deployment, I was working with the Department of Health and Human Services on a special project over the summer of 2020 for not over 90 days. It was in anticipation of the COVID-19 vaccine and how we were going to ramp it up. And it was actually a special project from the White House that was launched by Mike Pence, the vice president at the time. And I just went in there and I was working alongside really well-known, well-regarded physicians and scientists from CDC and kind of all over the world, really. And it was intimidating because I'm like, I'm just this like recent, I'm this recent undergrad, and I've only been here for like a year by now, and I'm thrown into this pandemic and I don't know what I'm doing. But you know, that was my internal thought, kept that to myself, and just kind of winged it and did what I could. I mean, it was a pandemic. We were all learning while we were doing it. We were building the plane as we flew it, essentially. And with this project that I was working on, I was actually the liaison for several Midwestern states, preparing hospitals for the vaccine that was coming in a couple of months. So this was between the month of July through probably the end of September, when we knew that the vaccine was coming. And it was really great. I made a lot of connections at the state level with a lot of those states. And I don't think that was something I ever in my wildest dreams that I thought I would ever be able to do. And working on behalf of CDC and even on a special project on behalf of the former vice president was very cool. I actually got to meet him virtually and say, say hello, and not getting into politics or anything, but it was still a very cool experience regardless, just meeting, somebody who's one of the heads of our state and recognizing our work as public health workers and the work that we were doing. So it's definitely one of my more fonder memories. And then I deployed for 90 days, and then I rolled off deployment for exactly 1 month, rolled back into my duties at the health department in Montana. And right then, that's when we were in the thick of COVID cases. We were bursting at the seams like many cities and towns across America, but for a rural population, with a little health department that was not equipped for the kind of emergency that we were in, it was challenging. It was definitely challenging. And I think it stretched me professionally, but in a really positive way, really taught me adaptability and flexibility, which is 2 skills that I thought I had prior, but nothing like what I think I have now because of the work I did in the pandemic. But then after that, I was deployed again. And federal deployments are They're kind of a special little thing that I won't bore you guys with too much, but I was deployed again for another month on another COVID-19 vaccine project. It was Operation Warp Speed. That was what it was called in the media. And I was responsible for the state of Montana ensuring that vaccine was delivered to hospitals. So that I worked on behalf of CDC, and I was able to travel around the state of Montana working with the bigger hospitals in the area, and ensuring that the shipment of vaccine was in, that they received the vaccine, and a bunch of, just paperwork and administrative things that are just not as exciting. But it was neat. It was again a cool experience, and seeing other parts of the state and how they were handling COVID in their hospitals, and seeing how overburdened these rural hospitals was pretty eye-opening. And then after that month deployment or so, I rolled back into the health department. And from there, because of all the skills and things that I gained, I was made the planning section chief for Flathead City County Health Department, and I assisted the health officer with planning mass vaccination clinics for the Flathead community. And we began that in January and kind of started taking, scaling the project down probably about August of 2021. By then we had vaccinated over 80,000 people out of 100,000 population, which is pretty successful considering the area. And with that role in particular, I had no emergency preparedness background. I knew nothing about incident command structure. I did not know what a planning section chief was. And I actually remember pulling out some of my notes, because I'm a nerd, that I had from undergrad of okay, did we learn about this? How do you do this? And I actually still keep the packet from Dr. Klein's class for program planning and implementation. I actually still keep that because there's a lot of good knowledge in there, and I definitely reference that. I know it probably sounds super silly, but I needed guidance, and you could only Google so much, and I was like, I don't know what I don't know. And so kind of going back to that class was actually really useful in how to plan a mass vaccination clinic. It's a very in-depth process. And taking on that level of responsibility was hard, but I learned a lot, and I found a deep love for emergency preparedness from being in that role. And so kind of going back to kind of the timeline. So in 2021, as a PHAP, my program, my term was coming to an end. And so with PHAP, if you complete the 2-year term, you're eligible to what we call conversion into an actual CDC permanent position, because again, PHAP is term limited. And again, you're may competing with other 100, say there's 110 of us, 109 you're probably competing with, and the jobs that they post, the amount vary year by year, but it's mostly internal CDC jobs. And it varies. They hire a lot for emergency preparedness. They hire a lot for health policy or health communications. It just depends on the center within CDC, so the CIO. And I think when I was applying, they probably posted about 57 jobs, and about 100 of us at least were applying. Some were deciding to go on to grad school, or some got jobs at their host site that they were at, or some just decided, hey, pandemic did me in, I'm done with public health. It just varied, but roughly it's been about 100 or so people across the board tend to apply. for these jobs, and it is internally posted. So the jobs that the PHEP program posts for PHEP grads to apply for are only for us. So while we are competing with, 99 other people, it's still just that 99 other people. You're not competing with the public. So it's not posted publicly on USA Jobs or any of that. But I applied for my current position. So I'm a public health advisor with the National Centers for Immunization and Respiratory Diseases within their program operations branch. So I'm a field service assignee. That means I moved from Montana to Wisconsin, and I work within the Wisconsin State Immunization Program. And as a PHA, there's tons of field assignees within CDC that are not just within my CIO, which is NCIRD. Field assignees live kind of all over the country and all the territories. But that's not the only jobs that are open with CDC. There's plenty that are in Atlanta. They're opening up remote positions. But mine in particular was a job that they had posted in a couple of different states and a couple of different programs. And, the adventurer in me was just like, okay, well, I'll apply and I'll move somewhere else. But I was hoping I would get the Midwest because the pandemic really taught me that it was nice to be closer to friends and family. Take away the rural aspects. Quarantine was no fun without having some human connection. So that's just something to keep in mind if you do complete the PHEP program and you want to convert with CDC, that a lot of these positions are not going to be, home, where you're from. They're going to be kind of all over the place. And so it definitely takes some adaptability and flexibility. But in my current position, though, I am essentially the middleman between the state of Wisconsin's immunization program and CDC. So I work heavily in health policy. I help write their cooperative agreement grant, which funds the state's program for immunizations. And I kind of do whatever is needed. I worked on the monkeypox response here in Wisconsin. I've also been involved doing a deployment again federally for the monkeypox response. I can get pulled anytime. So it definitely has been, it's definitely been a challenge, but one that I think I've gotten used to in this position for sure. And right now with my program, I am helping write our cooperative agreement for the program. It's our annual with CDC. It's a multi-million-dollar grant that covers our vaccines for children program, our vaccine for adult program, and also our emergency preparedness aspect in case there's another outbreak of monkeypox, or right now we're worrying about polio and what we're going to do. So just kind of, whatever comes. And I think that's been kind of the name of the game for being a public health advisor, is just seeing what pops up. But I know we're probably short on time, so I will stop there and see if there's any questions.
I think you've got a hand up for Sydney, and then you've got a question in the chat. So.
Sure.
Hi. So I just want to say congratulations on literally everything that you've accomplished. I mean,
Thank you.
I was completely in utter shock when I heard about all the positions that you've held and everything that you've contributed. So I just think that's amazing. So my first question is your resume that you did for, since it is a federal job, did it have to be more in depth? Like, did you have to go into it a lot more, or was it just more of your regular resume that you would send to some locally, let's say that?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. So when I was originally applying, starting out, I knew nothing about USA Jobs or the federal hiring process. Didn't even know there was a special resume. So I had a regular resume. that just like, you know, your basic 2-pager. But when you go into USA Jobs, and this is for any job that you apply as part of the federal hiring process, they have a resume builder built in that will kind of direct you into knowing what they want and what they're looking for and how specific. So I suggest to anybody that is going to apply for any federal job, not just the PHAP program, to use the resume builder. So that's what I did, because when I was looking, I was like, well, I wonder if they're suggesting if I should use a resume builder, if I should use it. And I did, and I was glad I did. Because again, they have these specifics and like these nuances to their hiring process that normal places don't. So yeah, if you're looking, definitely use the resume builder.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And I also just have one more. So I am like amazed at contact tracing. That's actually part of my internship that I'm doing right now. How is that different federally than just, you know, because you said you worked at, you know, your local health department. Like, obviously that's just more of the county that you're in.
Yep.
And all that fun stuff. But how is that done federally? It's because that just seems like such a big thing.
Yeah, so federally, federally, it's a lot more formal and more in-depth because they are requiring that data a lot more for other things. Whereas I don't want to say that we were lazy at local level, we were overwhelmed. And so I think our contact tracing and the questions that we were asking and the data that we were pulling was a lot more lax. And that was for a multitude of reasons. A lot of it, we just didn't have the infrastructure. But I think now, kind of looking back, even when I was leaving the health department, we were kind of kicking ourselves in the butt of like, we should have done more data collection to understand, because that's going to tie in a lot to their grants that they're applying for, even at the local level. But that also affects the state and what they're applying for too. So sorry, a little bit of a long tangent there, but it's definitely, feds are always more formal and more pulling for more information, probably, than more local levels.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
You have a couple questions in the chat. Do you want me to read them to you, or do you want to go to the chat?
I can see them. Okay, Jordan. Do the remote positions require you to still live in that state, or could you live here and do it? Because I've been seeing jobs that still require you to relocate even though it's remote. It really varies. The federal government, not just CDC, but the federal government is always very late to the party in terms of trying to adapt to the times. And so they're really late on trying to adapt to remoting full time. And so a lot of CIOs, so centers within CDC, that are posting for jobs, some of them are remote, but then you still have to move to Atlanta and be within a 50-mile radius. And then some of them don't care where you live. And not all the times will it be very specific on the USA Jobs posting. And so if you do, you know, I would say apply for the job regardless. And do the interview. And once you get to that point, ask them if they will require an Atlanta-based residency, because a lot of them do. It's kind of tricky, and it kind of grabs people, especially I think a lot of us younger people like Gen Z and millennials and things that want to remote work. It's kind of initial grab in, but some CIOs too will also let you negotiate. If it's already remote, again, you just have to just have an honest conversation with them about that, and they can work with that. Hopefully that answers your question, Jordan. Did the CDC provide me relocation assistance for when I relocated for my job? So for the PHAP program, no, that was all on my dime. They do not pay any relocation assistance when you join PHAP, unless you get selected and choose to move to the territories. So Guam, the North Mariana Islands, Puerto Rico, they will help with that because you have to be moved by ship. And so they will pay for that. But if you're just driving across the country like I did, nothing. You don't get anything. So it's definitely a hard pill to swallow. And there was times when I was just like, why am I doing this? But if I think it's a great experience, and I don't regret paying the money, even if it hurt at the time. So hopefully that answers your question, Jaden. And for my current position with the state of Wisconsin, I did get a relocation stipend for moving to Wisconsin from Montana, which was very helpful. And not all CIOs will offer this. This is because my half of my salary is funded through COVID funds, and we had a lot of extra COVID funds. And so they were able to kind of sweeten the deal with my job offering by offering me a relocation assistance, but not every CIO will. And they usually will specify that in the USA jobs, but if they don't, and you apply for a job and you interview, definitely ask them. But that's usually not something, if they don't already offer it, they won't negotiate it. Again, because it's federal funding. But yeah, I was very lucky that the government flipped the bill on this one because it was quite an expensive move.
Mhm.
Let's see. What would you say are your typical day-to-day responsibilities? It varies by the quarter. Right now we are in grant writing season. This is probably the most stressful time of the year. It's the beginning of the year. And so right now we are scrambling and trying to come up with all of our goals for what we want to write to receive funding from CDC. So we're using our SMART objectives and how we're going to measure and what we want to do and what our focus is on. And so I will probably be, pretty knee deep in grant writing probably till the month of April. They just opened up our grant tool just last week, so it's been quite a fun ride so far. But then outside of grant writing, I do a lot of health communications and a lot of different health communication campaigns surrounding immunizations and vaccines. Like our flu campaign we just did, we had a statewide flu campaign, just reminding people to get their flu shot and just kind of keeping on top of that. But also I just spearheaded our cervical health awareness month campaign for the month of January that focused on the HPV vaccine and cervical health screenings. And so we actually partnered with our Wisconsin Well Women program, who handles well women screenings for the state. And so that was a very successful campaign. So between grant writing and health communications, been pretty busy the last couple of weeks. And then I am also the state liaison for our child care providers in the state. So specifically our state WIC department, our state DCF, so the Department of Child and Family Services, really focusing on trying to build a relationship with our partners to promote routine childhood vaccines that are not COVID, because people are tired of hearing about COVID. So we're really trying to, shift our focus back to the work we were doing before COVID, which is routine childhood immunizations. And so working with and building relationships with these partners who we really didn't have a relationship with prior to COVID. And I'm actually speaking to the Wisconsin Head Start Association conference. I'm leading a presentation on routine childhood immunizations in March. I was specifically asked by their director to come present because they really appreciate the work we're doing here within the program and want to get their families and the children all vaccinated that work within their program. So it's been a really cool, fulfilling experience. And then, of course, if polio outbreak happens or monkeypox or whatever comes up, then I will also be pulled into that. And that that kind of role, that will just vary in terms of what's needed. With monkeypox, for instance, with Wisconsin, I kind of had to put back my emergency preparedness hat back on and try to figure out how to plan a mass vaccination clinic. And I was able to utilize those skills that I learned in Montana and on COVID to do monkeypox. And again, building the plane as we're flying it, because we're just like, what's monkeypox? Like, how do we get this vaccine? How do we, so it's just been a really just flexible, crazy time. So yeah, we'll see kind of what happens, but currently those are my current responsibilities. 2 more questions. I know we're a little over time, Dr. Klein, so I don't want to, if there's anything else. Okay. Was there anything I did during college that contributed to my resume? And also, did the PHAP program offer any international job opportunities, or are they only offered if you convert? So great questions. Anything I did during college? I think my internship helped. I interned with St. Louis Children's Hospital as a data analytics intern. And kind of having some of that data background and being more familiar with working, with data and a program that works directly with children was really, was just really nice when I was interviewing, and those skills were really helpful. And also I listed my 490, 491 program that I worked on with my group actually on my resume too, because I needed skills that really showed that I have been working in public health and I wanted to transfer those skills. And that was actually incredibly helpful for me to list as well. So I know, you might think, oh, it's classwork, but I would definitely include your projects on your resume if you feel like you're lacking in certain areas, or you think that you need more job experience. Chances are you've probably done something in your class or classes that you can easily transfer onto your resume. It's not always just about your job experience. So yeah, between my internship and the project that I did in 490, 491 were probably the 2 biggest things that helped me at least get into PHAP. And then the work that I did in PHAP and on federal deployments helped me get my current position here as a public health advisor. And then, did the PHAP program offer any international job opportunities, or they only offered you to convert? So they do offer international job opportunities in the way that, again, like US territory, so Guam or the North Mariana Islands, sometimes they have host sites that will apply for PHAPs, and they usually send 1 to 2 PHAPs depending on the need. So as far as international, that's probably as far international as you can get with PHAP, because PHAP is through the CIO, the Center for State, Local, Tribal Support Centers, so CSTLTs. And so they work directly with US territories, states, tribes. So you also get the opportunity to work on Native American reservations through PHAP, and you can be placed there depending on the need and what your resume is and how they place, they have their own kind of method on how they go about that. So that was actually a really cool experience as well. Before I was sent to Kalispell, I was actually supposed to work with the tribe in Billings, but that got canceled due to some other things that were out of my control. And so, but I really wish I would have worked more with the tribes. So I know a lot of people focus on international, but also working with tribes is very incredible. So it's also something too to consider. A lot of the NIH, the National Indian Health Centers, is hiring quite a bit for various public health roles and a lot of entry level, and you'd be working directly with tribes. And they're posted on the USA Jobs too, if you want to take a look. But as for international job opportunities in my current role, there are international job opportunities. As a public health advisor, I could probably work overseas depending on the need. Right now, my current role is really working with states and ensuring their funding, but there are other international job opportunities within my centers and through other centers as well. But it's more just traveling sporadically. Chances are you're not really going to be based in one country long term, unless you're a higher GS level. So right now I'm a GS9, so I wouldn't probably be, working in, in another country because I'm not qualified yet. But it is definitely an opportunity, but you really have to climb the GS ladder to get some of those international opportunities. But you can do deployments internationally. They're very few and far between, but they do exist. They're, often like Puerto Rico will have, hurricanes or natural disasters or things like that. And so oftentimes anybody of any skill level can be deployed to Puerto Rico. And there's also some work during monkeypox that was happening in Africa, and they were deploying quite a bit of people of kind of all skill sets. But again, deployments are kind of like all hands on deck. We need the manpower kind of thing. So there are those opportunities, but I've never done any of the international deployments or have been offered them because they are very, very scarce. But I have a close couple of friends who have been on several of them, and it's quite an experience. So, and I think that is it. In terms of questions I see.
Lots of interest. I think just to sort of hear your path and realize, what year did you graduate? 2019?
Yeah, 2019, yeah.
Or 2019, yeah. So, it's really great to think about, that's not that long ago, right?
No.
She's done a lot since then. So I love, we had Greg Pavelka come in a couple of weeks ago to talk about, he's a grad of the program as well. And he does safety, more kind of safety aspect, and he works for the Army right now. And so it's been interesting to hear both of you talk about sort of how to apply for jobs at the federal government level. So I put in the chat just to remind all of the students in here that Greg actually did create a step-by-step, how do you apply for jobs on USA.gov? Because as Lindsey just talked about, it's not easy to do that. And he does have tips on how to do that, the career or the resume builder that Lindsey talked about as well. So really interesting information. Just great to hear what you've done. Is there, so if students want to have extra questions for you, do you want me, I can receive them and then send them to you? How do you would that work?
I can just put my email in the chat if that works, or if you want to send it out widely to the class, that works too. I don't know whatever is beneficial, but
if you're willing to share your email, and that's not to pressure you, I'm happy to be the one who sends it, but if you're willing to share directly, I think I can tell, I know for a fact we've got a couple students who are super interested.
Yeah, I just put that my personal email in the chat. So yeah, if anybody has any questions about anything in terms of, especially with applying federally, please shoot me an email. Again, the federal hiring process is a beast. It really should be probably its own course. So yeah, if you have any questions, or you even just want me to look at it and to see if that would be, whatever content you have on your resume would be good for the job that you're applying. If it's, especially if it's a 0685 series, which is what I am, which is a public health advisor. And that's also the more popular job posting. Happy to help and take a look.
That's great. That's really, really generous. Okay, let's give Lindsey a big round of applause and a huge thank you. I'm going to go ahead and stop recording at this point. So thanks for coming.